Welcome to the Willie Bragg Show. Saturday night. I've been doing a 9 o'clock stream every Saturday night for almost a year now, consistently. However, this is the new time because of the friendly competition. I decided that I'm going to go and do my part and have it at 8 p.m. So if there's any other programs you want to watch, you can watch those programs too. Yes, kind of a solidarity thing on my part that I decided to make a decision. So anyway, I wanted to say hello to Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. How are you doing, my friend? Glad to see you here, and everybody else who's who hasn't said hello to me yet in my audience. So anyway, right now I want to talk about two people that had a profound effect politically on my life. One I am very angry at the moment. The other I'm very disappointed with, and I will explain what I mean. And those two people would be Bernie Sanders and Cornel West. We're going to start with the person I'm angry at with at the moment, and that's Bernie Sanders. And he's been getting very disappointed, pointing lately, Bernie Sanders. And although he's been disappointing me, especially since 2020, the Bernie Sanders of 2016, he ran a very aggressive campaign for president. In 2020, he slashed his T's and dotted his I's and made it too much to be too careful. And he basically his campaign collapsed for the very reason what he thought failed in his 2016 campaign was his winning strategy for 2020, and he didn't do it. I don't want to go back to old history, but I'm very resentful of what happened in 2020. Kind of still am. As soon as he dropped out, bend the knee to Biden, quicker than he bent the knee to Hillary, he started to move more and more to the center, to the point where it became frustrating, where he's just now a slightly better Democrat. But then I begin to wonder what he did this past week by having activists arrested at his office. I guess he doesn't want to be called a Russian. Oh, and a shout out to politics, Road Grinds. What's up, Willie? Props from us from the left coast. Hey, what's up, my friend? How are you? Let's see. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that Bernie did something that was very offensive to me. I would expect this. What he did. I would expect from, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. And what am I talking about? Well, I mean, you think about that famous picture from 1963 of Bernie Sanders getting arrested for fighting against segregation in Chicago. And you're like, man, he's got some fucking balls. 1963, this is somebody who's got some idealism. This is what I was thinking, when I saw that picture. I was like, he has the receipts, and he still has the receipts from that time period. And I've been a little bit easier on him than I've been on the squad because of those receipts. Having that said, what he did this past week is really unforgivable. Code Pink activists, anti-war activists coming there to protest and to address the issues about the Ukraine war, the proxy war, and how he's been a hawk on that issue. Bernie Sanders, now, foreign policy, he's not been Bernie Sanders is decent and has been decent on foreign policy, but there was a misnomer that he's been like a perfect dub. He's not. I mean, he's not. I mean, yeah, he voted against the Iraq War, and you know, and it was controversial and took balls to vote against the Iraq War in 2002. Well, shouldn't have taken balls. I mean, it was pretty much open and shut case. Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction, and he was a rival of Osama bin Laden. There was no connection with 9/11. And George W. Bush and Tony Blair went into Iraq mostly out of the behest of Foreign Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when he was the foreign minister in Israel. All the more reason not to go into Iraq. And so, it took balls, still took balls, because a lot of people basically call you a Saddam lover and all this sort of thing when you oppose the war, because that was the conventional wisdom back in 2002, those dystopian years. That's why I talk a lot about George W. Bush. View him the worst president this country ever had. It was the darkest period in my lifetime. I'm going to be 55 in a few months. So basically, he's been good on the Iraq War. But he's been terrible on this. He's been terrible on this war here, proxy war in the Ukraine. But to be fair, so has the rest of the Democratic Party. And Robert Kennedy, being the only candidate that was a Democrat, now he's running as an independent, was like the only high-profile Democrat running on an anti-war platform. Now, thing about Bernie, I'm pissed off that he had these activists arrested. I mean, to have Medea Benjamin arrested, really, Bernie? I mean, really? I mean, Anyway, I'm going to play a video from Heartland. Let's see, what's it? Heartland's Media on Bernie Sanders having 11 anti-war protesters arrested. I'll comment on it. So, give me a moment here. And I have a new computer, so I haven't had my ad blocker installed yet. I'm going to. So, if there's an ad breaking in, I'm going to try to find a graceful way out of it. So bear with me, folks.
Let us all do we can to build a better future.
Just when I thought Bernie Sanders couldn't hit a new low, a lot happened yesterday, and I have to say I was surprised and shocked. But then again, Bernie Sanders is a Democrat through and through. And it hurts my heart to see this, but there's a lot to unpack here, because even the activists in this are a little bit questionable too. And the shocking photo of solidarity is a little bit interesting as well. But nonetheless, let's first start off with our good friend, Bernie Sanders, because what recently happened by Bernie the Cuck Sanders, the man who allowed the DNC to commit election fraud and basically screw over his campaigns in 2016 and 2020 and did nothing to fight for his volunteers and supporters. Well, Bernie Sanders decides to get 11 people arrested in protest at Senator Bernie Sanders' office over the war in Ukraine. So, hey, it's Code Pink. What I do have to say, though, especially with people like Code Pink, most notably, we see Medea Benjamin there, is I do remember her at that squad event that was covered by Colin Radix Carter. And yes, we did cover it here on Hard Lens Media. And I did interview Colin Radix Carter as well when he covered that event. And, he brought up not one, but two very good questions towards the squad members consisting of Jamal Bowman, Jamal Bowman, Corey Bush, Ayanna Presley, and everybody's personal favorite, AOC. And she was utterly silent. But here, okay, I'm calling out Bernie Sanders. All right. So 11 anti-war protesters were arrested Wednesday after they occupied the office of Senator Bernie Sanders, the independent, quote unquote, from Vermont on Capitol Hill to demand the senator support efforts at diplomacy over sending further U.S. aid such as weapons to Ukraine. Bernie Sanders being pro-war. Who knew? Who knew? Capitol Police arrested the 11 people inside the Dirksen Senate office building under a D.C. code that prohibits crowding, obstructing, or accommodating a Capitol Police spokesperson said. The code is often cited when arresting protesters during peaceful planned acts of civil disobedience. Oh my goodness gracious Cretaceous. Bernie, how could you? We thought we knew you. The protesters, who were with the anti-war group Code Pink, were advocating for Ukrainian, Russian, and U.S. leadership to negotiate an end to the war. The group said in a news release, yes, Bernie should condemn the Russian invasion, but he should also be calling for a negotiated end to this brutal war. Crystal Zevon from Barrett, Vermont, said in a news release, oh my goodness. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, Washington has pledged more than, oh, look at this, $46 billion in military, humanitarian, and yes, financial assistance to Ukraine. But the people of Maui get only a one-time $700 payment. People of East Palestine, Ohio, you're on your own. Flint, Michigan, clean drinking water. What will you ever do with that? And any other city or small town in the good old US of A, be it a red state or a blue state? You really think anyone in Washington, D.C. cares about you? Because they don't. Oh.
And I will agree with that. And I believe in not in the right-wing framing of the term America first, but I do believe that the party should go for Americans first in terms of Maui and first in terms of Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Mississippi, wherever, all around the United States where there's problems with drinking water, infrastructure, national disasters, what have you. When they said we can't afford to revitalize and fix the problems, we can if we can reprioritize where we put our fundings. Because I'm really cool with pension plans being preserved in the Ukraine. I'm cool with paying for their universal health care system in the Ukraine. I'm cool with these things. I'm not cool with money, our taxpayer dollars, going to Nazis in the Ukraine. I want to say that, or wherever our money goes, when it goes to Saudi Arabia, that indirectly ends up in genocide against Yemen, or when the money goes to Israel, when it ends up in a brutal crackdown against the Palestinians. You get my point. The American people should come first. But usually when American money is dispersed abroad, it gets dispersed in a way where people get hurt. Even if some nominal good things like pension plans in the Ukraine or universal health care in Israel or what have you, is realized. But the point I'm trying to say is people get hurt. We never have the money to do good things for Americans here. That's the problem.
Oh, my goodness. So here, let's actually pull this up here because it is rather fascinating and depressing in many ways to see how this is all playing.
Vermonters want peace.
You have any comment?
I'm from Vermont.
Hold on. Sorry about that.
I voted for Bernie every time from Congress on. I wasn't there when he was mayor, but I worked for him and his campaign. I believed in him, and he has crushed all my hopes for some kind of sanity within his building.
I think we all learned that lesson. These politicians are not heroes. They're politicians. flawed individuals. I hesitate to say that they're human, but they look the part. But I do question whether or not they are human. But Bernie, so many people believed in your message. What's so pathetic is that you had lightning in the bottle and you threw it away, buddy.
Recently tweeted out that he wants to see more funding go to Ukraine a couple of days ago. Can I get any reaction to that?
I'm horrified. I'm horrified. I watched the carnage going on over there, and how can anyone say this is good? Cluster bombs. We're on the brink of nuclear war. How can he not? All the things he.
Yeah, cluster bombs, which is a war crime. Cluster bombs that both Ukraine and Russia has, and the United States have. And everybody's guilty in this shit. You know, how in the world can that be considered okay? How in the world that being on the cusp of World War III with nuclear arms be okay? I like to know that, you know, and you know, and for Bernie to have these activists arrested, these people are not January 6th style insurrectionists, and January 6th style insurrectionists deserve free speech too. I'm not trying to be a culture warrior or anything like that. My point is, I'm just making a comparison between the night and day scenario. These people are nothing like that. I mean, these are good people being arrested. These are supposed to be Bernie people being arrested. You know, Bernie, I would expect this from Hillary Clinton. I would expect this from Dianne Feinstein. I would expect this from Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden. I would expect this from Donald Trump. I would expect this from Jim Jordan, and I would expect this from, you know, name any Republican in Congress, or, you know, I would expect this from anybody, not you, Bernie. You of all people, a civil libertarian that you purport to be. You do this?
He says, how can he not?
Why are they arresting you?
Thank you for holding up a sign, a quote from Bernie Sanders calling for dialogue. In Bernie Sanders' office, they seem to suggest that war is solidarity, which is madness, how they're co-opting the language of peace and liberation to lead us to World War III. It's crazy. They're so out of touch, not just with American people, but with the entire world. And this guy's supposed to be the progressive hero.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders declaring war against Bernie Bros. Think about that for a minute.
Hey, first time, baby. It must be your first time. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe and drink water, because again, this isn't the first time Bernie Sanders' hypocrisy has been shown. And I encourage all of you to check out our conversations that I have had with Do Dissident and RBN for our post-duopoly show that's hosted on the Revolutionary Blackout Network channel, where we have gone into detail about Bernie Sanders, and both Russell and Crean have brought in a great insight into overall Bernie Sanders. And well, for the fact is that I think a lot of us got tricked, myself included. And just for the record, I know Hardlands media in the past, in the early days, from the beginning, even we ourselves, even before the 2020 election, were impressed with Bernie Sanders. I guess we didn't see it as well. And I say this now and forever. I regret any kind of positive coverage or kind word I ever said about Bernie. I'm very, very, very sorry. I regret it, and I take it all back. Truly, I do.
Yeah, what do we need Bernie to do?
We really just needed to step aside and leave room for other people who are actually going to fight for us, who are going to fight for peace. Because he obviously isn't courageous enough to fight for peace.
Peace.
Yeah, because Bernie's a cuck. That's what he is. The man is a cuck. He's a cuck.
To end the war in Ukraine, end U.S. funding for the war, no funding for war, funding for health care.
Jimmy Lee
housing.
from Burlington, Vermont. He's a constituent of Bernie Sanders getting arrested. What are we demanding Bernie do, Jimmy?
We want him to end the war, speak out against the war. If he spoke out against the war, it would make a huge difference. It wouldn't make a huge difference.
He can't do that. Sorry, buddy. Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont, is nothing more than a loyal, obedient servant to the neoliberal Democratic establishment. Senator Bernie Sanders is good friends with his buddy, his pal. You know him, but he doesn't know you or where he's at. The guy who asks who.
Sorry about that, folks.
Crap my pants. Joe 30330. That's Bernie's good friend. Remember, Bernie Sanders said that.
He's lined up for using and abusing Ukrainians. And he's been supporting using and abusing Vermonters who live in the terrible noise zone of the F-35 at the airport. 115 decibel, F-35 taking off and landing in a city, it's a crime. And Bernie supports that. He's the supporter of assaulting people.
We need peace.
1,000 children live in that noise zone.
Shame.
What a shame indeed. That's who Bernie Sanders is.
Okay, I just wanted to show that and to express where I stand on this, because again, to go after these activists, these are supposed to be this is Bernie's natural constituency. I mean, these are the Bernie Sanders supporters. These are the quintessential Bernie Sanders supporters. These are the people you think of when you think of Bernie Sanders supporters, and they get arrested. This is why I had to go and not participate in anything that's reminiscent of the two-party system. I also have to make an apology myself to a couple of people. I have to make an apology to the late Peter Diamondstone, who I basically made fun of. I knew the man when he was alive, who was a critic of Bernie Sanders. Now, possible that Bernie Sanders back then was still the good guy about it, but man, if he was still alive today, I would talk to Peter Diamondstone and apologize to him. Now, I had some problems with Peter Diamondstone on ideological level, but he was correct to go and to criticize Bernie and all of that. So anyway, I'm just beside myself. And I regret all the money I've ever donated to him at this point. And it's a culmination of almost $5,000 that I've donated since the 1990s to Bernie. And I said to myself, thank God he's not running in 2024. And I mean that. But man, if I lived in Vermont at this point, I don't know if I could vote for him for re-election for the U.S. Senate. I mean, I never thought I was to be saying these things about Bernie. I don't know what to say. I mean, it just is, to go after anti-war protesters, having them arrested using some kind of bullshit excuse. I guess he's scared he'll be called a Russian asset. Shame on you, Bernie. Let's go to the next story. Now, I think that Cornel West has good intentions, and I am planning to vote for Cornel West for president in 2024. He initially announced his candidacy with the People's Party because he's a member of the People's Party. That was fine. I was okay with supporting him as a People's Party candidate. And then he decided to, at the behest of Chris Hedges, to go with the Greens because the Greens have better ballot access. That makes tactical sense. And that's fine. I mean, I'm a registered Green in North Carolina. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I'm cool with voting for Cornel West as a Green. Then he decides to run for president as an independent. And then I'm asking myself, what the hell are you doing running as an independent? So anyway, I'm gonna play this from Jimmy Dore, for the Jimmy Dore show. And this is Craig Passenger-Dula is substitute hosting, and he has something to say about this, and I'll share my take as well. He said, I wish he'll come down to North Carolina. I'll go and see him again if he tours North Carolina. Anyway.
Cornel West leaves the Green Party in favor of an independent bid. Okay.
Is this because the guy I said Jimmy before this that you called
Peter Daou, right?
Is that guy still with him? What is it?
Peter Daou.
Peter Daou? Is he still with Cornell? Or is he with the Green Party?
Yeah, he's not. He's Peter Daou still. And listen, last night, Dr. Jill Stein was on Sabby Sabs talking about the whole reason why she was trying to justify why she had to hire Peter Daou, because they needed a campaign manager that knew what they were doing. But the whole thing, I mean, it is laughable because it's like, oh, it's the digital age. And if you don't get anybody who knows what they're doing,
I feel like I know what he was doing.
What's that?
Like ruining getting Brother Biden elected.
This is awfully suspicious, because now the whole reason for going to the Green Party ticket was because you got ballot access, right? At least in 40 states, I think, when Jill Stein ran. Howie, I think, got close to 30 states. But there's a history there. In other words, you're going to give yourself a leg up by going with somebody who has ballot access. What we talked about, hoping that Monday's announcement for RFK, me personally, I'm hoping it's libertarian, because they got 50 states for Joe Jorgensen. They got 50 states for Gary Johnson. The history of doing that. But that was the reason why he went to the Green Party. This switch to the independent party right now, to go to independent ticket, is almost laughable, because you're not building a movement across boards. You don't have a populist message, right? You don't have the troops, the boots on the ground to go get you those signatures to get on the ballot. So this is actually a step backwards in my mind, because now he has less ballot access, and that's going to help who? Brother Biden. So go ahead, Jimmy.
But before Jimmy's story gets started, it's not about helping Biden or Trump or whomever their GOP nominee will be between Trump and DeSantis. It's about promoting Cornel West, as far as I'm concerned. But Pasta's right, because you're running as an independent, and you got to go and I mean, you already have states where the Green Party's on the ballot already, North Carolina being one of them. So you're not only promoting your own campaign, you're also help with coattails. Maybe you might get somebody one day elected to a state legislature or state senate. Well, there might be some sprinklings in the United States of such folks. Green Party does have that kind of traction around the country. But maybe you might be able to get somebody to the U.S. House of Representatives, or a gubernatorialship, or the U.S. Senate. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Or maybe they could do well enough to be a formidable candidate, and it would take a strong presidential candidate. And Cornel West himself would be such a person. And it makes all the sense in the world to have a ballot line than to run as an independent. I know people want to be all above the idea of party and everything. And I get that for those that do. And I should be. And I'm an independent in many ways, but I mean, if I had it my way, we would have a Labor Party in this country. I would resurrect the old Socialist Party of America of Eugene Debs, the one that existed a long time ago, not the three organizations that split off in 1972: Socialist Party USA, Democratic Socialists of America, Social Democrats USA. But the old original one, I would have that coming back. But here's the thing: the reality is, the Green Party is the only thing outside the Democratic Party that is left wing that has, that's viable. And I think it's a bad move by Cornel West to go independent when he has that Green Party that gives him better clout. He's good for he's good for the Green Party, and the Green Party is good for him. And the ideology of both the Greens and Cornel West kind of interwoven. I mean, they're there's it's the same message broadly the same message. And I just think it brings more disunity on the real left to have him run as an independent as opposed to running as a Green. And I have some strong suspicions why he did that. And it's not so much Cornel West, but some nefarious person in his campaign.
It seems like there's a conspiracy to make me look like a genius. And that's what this is, because Cornel West basically just quit the race. And what I said after he was on our show was that I don't know what Cornel's doing, but he's not running for president. And this just solidifies that, because he's basically just quit. And the reason why I say that is because he was going to be on the ballot already. They said that the Green Party had 18 states already ballot access, and a couple of those states were swing states. So he doesn't want to be on the ballot. This is my theory. He doesn't want to be on the ballot in swing states. He said yesterday on an interview that he's guaranteeing he's going to get on 30 ballots. Well, that guarantees you're not going to win for president if you only get on 30 ballots. And I'm going to bet you that none of those states are going to be swing states. Peter Daou is a cancer, and this is the first tumor that we've seen arise from his cancerous involvement with the Cornel West campaign.
Bingo. That is so correct. Peter Daou is the problem. I've been warning people that Peter Daou is the problem. Never trust anybody. Never, ever trust anybody who was tied in with the Clintons. And I don't mean somebody who nominally voted for Hillary Clinton, but who was like super tight with Hillary Clinton. Even though I spent the first 30 minutes kind of bashing Bernie Sanders. Never trust anybody that sat there and when I'm defending Bernie Sanders here, I'm defending Bernie Sanders supporters from 2016 and 2020, not defending Bernie Sanders. I'm defending the Bernie Bros. Never trust anybody that attacked those nefarious Bernie Bros from 2016 and 2020. People like, pieces of shit like Michael Bloomberg, who ran for president in 2020, who did a one commercial that attacked Bernie Sanders supporters, then they attack other Democrats, or to even attack Donald Trump. But went after the Bernie Sanders supporters, the Bernie Bros. He had more of a problem with a bunch of people like myself, but younger, that's aggressive on Twitter than he did Donald Trump. I mean, that's just crazy. That's crazy. But Peter Daou he's that cancer that Jimmy Dore and others have been warning about. What the fuck were they thinking by hiring Peter Daou as I don't believe Peter Dow's changed. I don't believe Peter Dow's changed. I think that Peter Daou is the same person he was, and he worked in the Marianne Williams's campaign, and then he's no longer in the campaign. I don't trust that man. I don't trust him. So anyway, we'll let Jimmy Dore continue.
And so it's the idea that Cornell's going to go all the way to November. He might, as long as he's not on the ballot in a swing state. And so that'll be another tell when he doesn't get on the ballot in a swing state. And if he does, he'll probably go to that state and tell everybody that Joe Biden is the lesser of two evil. So they vote for Joe Biden. Yeah. So this is his campaign, unfortunately, has turned into a clown show. Everybody's lying to us that they didn't. Jill Stein lying, saying she didn't know who Peter Daou was. And she knew exactly who Peter Daou was, the number one guy who was smearing her and her campaign. Yeah. So she knows exactly. So she had to lie about that. So this is all about infiltration. Peter Dow's working for the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton, the DNC. He's working for the oligarchy and the establishment. He might have pretended that he changed his politics, but you don't change your character. And that's the problem. If Neera Tanden said she was on board for progressive politics, would you put her in charge of your campaign? That's exactly what Cornel did. And if you remember my interview, Cornel does not like taking advice from people, and he doesn't like being criticized. He wasn't coming for my vote. He wasn't coming for the people who watch my show's vote. He wasn't coming for your vote. And Peter Daou still isn't going for anyone's vote. It is not a real campaign. They're not really running for president. I don't know what they're doing. I'll leave other people to speculate why he's doing what he's doing, but he's not running for president. And this just proves he's not running for president. He's super unserious about running for president. And it's too bad.
Do you think he was serious? I don't think he was serious at any point.
Can I say something about that? Let me just say this much. When I interviewed him, when I was talking about this whole difference between saying that Donald Trump is a neo-fascist and Joe Biden is a neoliberal disaster, I was trying to reach out to him. And I think Jimmy was doing the same thing to say, hey, man, you need to change this language because this is going to be a turnoff for a lot of voters, a lot of Trump people that you're talking about going in to getting their vote. You need to change this language. But it almost seemed after the Jimmy Dore interview that he was actually promoting Joe Biden, like it was an infomercial for Biden.
Before that, even, what's the difference of the fascism of Trump and Biden? And I mean, this bizarre. Well, Biden has dimensions.
Yeah,
of fascism. I don't know how many dimensions it takes to equal up to one fascism.
Well, let me say this much, Kurt.
I believe in 21st century America that fascism is rather bipartisan. And fascism is not necessarily always racial, by the way. It's not always it is mostly, but it's not always it's not always a racialized component. You compare National Socialism with Hitler to Mussolini's Italy. The Italian version downplayed racism or would not as focus on it to the level that Hitler was focused on. I'm not saying that the fascism was racially enlightened and progressive. That's not what I'm saying at all. Please don't get it twisted. But I'm just saying that there is kind of a difference between, it was like a notch softer than National Socialism. It's still a shitty ideology. And got that here in America with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They both have fascist elements. They both have made racist comments. They have both supported repressive measures that's been bad for African Americans. I mean, in some ways, Joe Biden's worse because Joe Biden has been involved with the incarcerations of African Americans in the 1990s with that stupid crime bill that took place. That was called the Biden crime bill. It expanded the death penalty to 50 crimes. I mean, it was, again, I mean, during the Clinton years, the 1990s, a lot of people look at it back as a liberal era. It was a softer Reagan period. It was basically a continuation of the Reagan era with basically Bill and Hillary Clinton, who played a role as these boomer ex-hippies. That's all it was. It was just a facade. And just even the symbolic facade offended the hard right back then. But anyway, we'll let them continue.
I was hoping that, like a lot of other people, Cornel West making that decision to say, okay, Biden is the lesser of two evils in 2016, or excuse me, in 2020 was a wrong decision. And this time around, we see with Joe Biden almost starting World War III, it was a wrong decision. I mean, I said to Cornel West, I said, listen, you put a gun to my head, Joe Biden or Donald Trump every day, because, you know, with Donald Trump in office, we didn't go almost be on the brink of World War III. So,
and I don't want this to be taken as any support for Donald Trump, but Pasta's right, especially on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. If Trump comes back into power, the one good thing that will probably come out of it likely would be a better outcome regarding negotiation. And I would say that probably that conflict would have never have happened. And it's not because Donald Trump is Vladimir Putin's little bitch or anything like that. It's just not that. He had aspects of his foreign policy that kind of went against the military-industrial complex. He's not perfect on foreign policy. I don't want to get that twisted. He's not a dub. He's not a peacenik. Donald Trump, if anything, he's kind of a paleocon that, an American first style paleocon or an isolationist. And I think that accidentally, that and what Glenn Greenwald said, when you had the resistance, with the Democrats fighting against Trump and the never Trumpers fighting against Trump and the Trump people. And there was a lot of chaos during the 4 years of the Trump presidency. And I think because of the chaos that took place and the deep state, everything culminating, I think all that by accident made the United States less aggressive around the world during the 4 years of Trump. I think the world was slightly more peaceful by accident because, when the United States is involved in world affairs, like purposely involved in world affairs, there's no peace in sight. But I think by accident is what happened. I think by accident, the world became less warlike. And anyway, and I think that's the point. I think that's the point that Pasta's making. Anyway, we'll continue.
I don't know where he was. I was hoping that he would come around. Well, that was a bad decision of mine to say, vote for Biden over Trump. Now don't vote for either of them. Vote for me. But he never did that, did he, Jimmy?
Okay. We got these commercials. As I said, I do apologize for that. So we're going to make sure we don't deal with the commercials.
No, he didn't really come for our vote. In fact, he did the opposite of what a politician's supposed to do. A politician is supposed to find a way to make a voter feel like he cares about their problems. And
now I'm going to have to slightly disagree with Jimmy Dore here. Of course, someone like Jimmy Dore or someone like Pasta Jardula are the natural constituencies for someone like Cornel West running for president. He would expect such a vote. I would imagine people who watch the Jimmy Dore show or who watches the Combo Couch that they would I imagine the majority of the audience probably would vote for Cornel West in November. I being one of them. But anyway.
And he went out of his way to let us know he doesn't care about what we care about, and he doesn't care about what our audience cares about. So I don't know why he came on this show. He came on the show to virtue signal to somebody in the Democratic Party or to Peter Daou's handlers or the Green Party handlers or whatever. It wasn't to run for president. He didn't come on our show to ask for our vote. He didn't come on our show to make us feel like our concerns were his concerns. That's the opposite of what a politician does. So maybe because he spent 40 years in ivory towers like Princeton, Harvard, and Yale. He's out of touch with working class people. He's out of touch with real workers. I grew up, I'm sure, a lot poorer than he did, and I was a lot poorer for a lot longer than he does. I don't think he went bankrupt from a medical illness. I did. So I think it was obvious he's not running for president, and it's sad. It's again, don't get too close to your heroes because they'll just disappoint you. And I'm certainly 100% disappointed. And he's out there parroting the rhetoric of the Democratic Party. He's running on the Democratic Party's platform of Joe Biden is the lesser of two evil. And if you pointed out that Joe Biden was actually the greater evil, and when I say that, I'm quoting radical black activists who said the Democrats are not the lesser of two evil. And when I said that, he called me a Trumper. Yeah. So that just showed him being completely unserious and willing to do gutter politics.
Let me comment on that. Unfortunately, in this day and era, that if you speak to the left and from a left perspective, the establishment will smear you as right wing. And that's not to say that Cornel West is a shit lib doing that to Jimmy Dore, although they had their disagreements. And honestly, when I saw that interview between Jimmy Dore and Cornel West, I agreed with them both, and I disagreed with them both on certain finite points. I'm an individual. I can appreciate what both had to say on their perspective, and I can disagree with what they have to say. And because I'm a grown up that way, but here's the thing, Cornel West is also being lumped in by the corporate Democrats, and he knows what's going to happen to him with this presidential run. I know what he's trying to do, and I kind of think I do agree with Jimmy Dore and Pasta Jardula that what he's trying to do is to run as an independent to kind of to try to provide soft cover for Biden, maybe because he doesn't want to be recognized as the next Ralph Nader. And just like Bernie, there's nothing wrong with being like Ralph Nader. Now, I don't mean the Ralph Nader of today who wants to go and campaign for Biden, but I'm talking about the Ralph Nader who ran in 2000. The ones that the shit libs who hated George W. Bush and hated Ralph Nader because they apparently blame him for bringing us 8 years of this dystopian Bush-Cheney era. But as soon as Donald Trump became president, those same shit libs started sucking George W. Bush's cock, but still hates Ralph Nader. That same sort of thing. And then Ralph Nader joins up with them. I'm like, what the fuck is that about? You got to be careful with people you look up to, because sometimes they're gonna let you down. So those words are very true. But I'm just going to flat out say it, and my warning to everybody, when it comes to this campaign in the year 2024, with regard to Cornel West, is you need to watch out for that cancer called Peter Daou. Peter Daou is going to be the problem for Cornel West. And Cornel West needs to fire him, as far as I'm concerned. I'm in no solidarity with Peter Daou at all. Once a Clintonite, always a Clintonite. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go ahead. He'll be here on the chat line and talk to everybody here. Pittsburgh Dude 87, yo Willie, what's up? Bernie Sanders has been real scummy lately. You should see his tweet today about Palestine. Bernie Sanders has always more or less been a Zionist. In the 1960s, he lived in a kibbutz in Israel after college. So I mean, that's another thing. And he's never quite parted ways with that. Hey, Warren, how are you today? Pittsburgh Dude 87 says he voted to bomb Yugoslavia. Yes, he did. Thank you for reminding me of that. Though before that, he voted for Afghanistan war, voted to repeatedly to arm Israel. This Ukraine war piggery is a deviation. We should have listened to Michael Parenti. And you are right, my friend. Gamer, how are you doing today? I'm glad to see you here. Gamer for Life says, yeah, I'm not voting at all. Prior to Cornel West running, announcing his candidacy, I said I wasn't going to vote in 2024. And if he's not on the ballot in North Carolina, I might not vote. That might happen. Although Claudia De La Cruz is a good option. I've been kind of impressed with her. I'm going to try to get her on my show. Let's see, especially activists who won't even take the support of MTG, like good partisan liberals. I have something to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just because she's correct on the Russian-Ukraine conflict does not make her anti-war. She is a hawk on Russia. I mean, on China, Taiwan. She is a hawk on that. And although she is anti-Semitic, she's anti-Jewish as hell. She is a Zionist. I mean, she's an evangelical Zionist, Christian Zionist. So she's not. She has neocon sentiments. Not that far removed from Bush and Cheney. Bernie betrayed us all, and I feel like he has in a lot of ways. And Snipe Hunter here is here. How are you doing, my friend? Let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Hey, gamer. Yes, tonight, speaking of Warren will be on tonight, The Secret Show. So I hope you all will join Warren and Jimmy tonight for The Secret Show. Catherine Ann McCloskey, how are you doing today? Just got here and glad to see you here. Yes, nice and lazy gamer. Hope your day, hope yours was good as well. My day's good when I am off work, everyone. And Choosy Heretics chooses Carnation Revolution now. I got to cut it up pretty good with Tim and Jimmy, whatever podcast it is with this dude with like 30,000 people. Okay. Let's see. If Bernie smell like a mole at this point, then maybe we were confused. Let's see here. All right, let's take a look through here. All right, I'm looking through. Cowboy Kitty, how are you today? All right. Okay, while Bernie's action gripes my ass, Medea could have had a coup by retweeting Marjorie Taylor Greene's post and contrasting that with Bernie's action. Yeah, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, as I said, is a horrible human being, and it's not because she's a Republican. She is a fascist for all intents and purposes, in every sense of the term. The U.S. has financed international Nazism for far too long. Yes, and the Ukraine conflict is the most naked example of that. Hey, Stevie, how are you doing today? Okay, that clears things up. Let's see. Dennis Miller used to be pretty funny until he wasn't anymore. Yeah, and that's the thing right there. Conservative comedians are not funny. You know, they're just not funny because they're policy wise they tend to be wrong, and so that's why you know. And yeah, Catherine, I know that Diamond Stone was a dick, but I'm very angry with Bernie at the moment. So that's what it comes down to. And yes, this is why we need a real socialist party that runs his own members for office. Cornel and Bernie are radical in the European sense. And they are to the left of the average Democrat still. I grant that. And I grant that, you know, well, Billy Bragg said this in the late 80s with coal miners when they were talking about the Democratic Party. And he said that he laughs when people say we need, you know, something between the Democrats and the Republicans. He says that's the status quo. And he said this is before Tony Blair took a shit on the Labor Party. He said that the Labor Party's not perfect, but they will occasionally let you down, but they do fight against the things that Thatcher will fight. You know, I mean that was when before Tony Blair came along, you know, and all that. But point I'm trying to make is that we need something kind of like that without the cancer called Tony Blair. Yeah, I would love to see the SPA be a reality again. It would. That would be wonderful. Well, you know, that's a good point because if Trump had funded the Nazis, there might have actually been a revolution. And that's the thing right there. You know, the double standard. If it's Biden's doing it, it's okay. But if Trump is doing it, he would have been a Nazi. And neither of them are Nazis, by the way. But, you know, what the fuck is the United States doing? You know? I mean, that's the thing right there. So, hey, Matt, John, how are you doing today? And I'm about ready to log off right now because I'm going to eat supper very soon because I haven't eaten all day. So I wanted to make some quick announcements before I go. One, tonight at, well, be sure to watch The Political Matrix. Be sure to watch Beauty and the Boomer. You know, they're the friendly competition. So I don't know if Bitch with Misty Weston is still on. She was on for a while, but I haven't seen her program lately. But if she's on, go ahead and watch her program too. So also I want to make it at midnight. Be sure to drop by to watch The Secret Show with Lauren and Miss Jimi Sunderland. They always provide a good time. We'll watch their show. I believe on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be around on Around the World with Dee and Friends. More details soon. Next Friday, of course, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Braglands, another Braglands. And if I can say so, Warren, on the 20th of October, Warren will, I think that Warren agreed that perhaps the 20th will be the time that he's going to be a guest on Braglands. He'll be our second guest. Sherry Weiss was our first guest back in September. We have a guest once a month. So he'll be our second guest on October 20th. So anyway, and I'm guess I will let you all go. And if there's anything else I was going to mention, I can't think of anything at the moment. So, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way you disagree with what I have to say. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are the muckrakers of our time. Please subscribe to my channel, The Willie Bragg Show, here on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook. You got it. Same thing with Braglands. Follow Jimmy on her platforms on Twitter. Follow her on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Follow us both on Braglands. And until next time, always reject corporate media. And I will part ways for the evening. I will talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.